Hello dear student, welcome to our new session of vector. It's your third lecture. In last lecture we'll understand types of vectors, how we present the vectors and what are the types of vectors. Now we'll move forward and how to express vector in terms of I cap, j cap and k cap, its magnitude and its direction. Now moving forward, we'll discuss today resultant vector. So write down heading resultant vector. Resultant vector. So my dear student, basically let's suppose we have two or more than two vectors. So for resultant vector, you must need more than one vector. So two or more than two vector, let's suppose we have one vector as A vector and other vector as B vector. So basically A vector and B vector are two vectors. So for resultant vector, what we have to do, we know that this is the tail of first vector and this is the head of second vector. So we'll join first vector tail with second vector head. So this line which carry magnitude as well as direction is called resultant vector. That is R vector, which is equals to A vector plus B vector. So actually resultant vector means that vector which creates same effect, which is created by these two vectors. If these two vectors combine, let's suppose it creates some effect. So that effect is basically created by one individual vector. That individual vector is called resultant vector. So we'll say two or more than two vector. Two or more than two vector when combine, then the effect which is created by their combination is created by a single vector. That single vector is called, my dear student, resultant vector. So remember, basically effect means stands for direction as well as magnitude. Remember this thing. Effect implies direction as well as magnitude. So whatever will be the magnitude and direction for the combination of these two vectors, that magnitude and direction combination is created by one single vector. That single vector is called resultant vector. So the effect which is created by two or more than two vector is similar to the effect created by resultant vector. So I'll write here effect implies magnitude and direction. Effect implies magnitude and direction. So what we'll say? We'll say the effect which is created by both of the vector is equals to effect created by the individual vector, which is called resultant vector. So I'll write here effect created by combination of two or more than two vector. Is equals to effect created by a single vector called resultant vector. So this is basically what resultant vector is. So we'll write resultant vector is equals to combination of both the vector in form of sum, that is A vector plus B vector. Remember this thing, my dear student. Resultant vector means the effect which is created by combination of two or more than two vector is equals to effect created by one single vector called resultant vector. And remember, dear student, how to form resultant vector? It is, you have to start a line which join first vector tail with last vector head, having magnitude as well as direction. As I already tell you that the symbol of vector is arrow, in which this part is called head, which give you what beta? Direction, and this part is tail. This part is tail, and the length of line gives you magnitude of any vector. So remember this thing, resultant vector means the effect created by combination of more than two vector, more than one vector is equals to effect created by a single vector called resultant vector. I hope you all understand what actually is resultant vector. So moving forward, write down your next topic, points to remember. Write down points to remember. Points to remember. Your next topic is points to remember. There are some logics, my dear student, which you have to remember. Points to remember. Points to remember. Write down your first point. If two vectors, A vector and B vector, write down. If two vectors, A vector and B vector, are parallel. If two vectors, A vector and B vector, are parallel. We know that what actually parallel vector is. So parallel vector is two collinear vector. I'll already tell you, two collinear vector, if parallel, are in same direction, then they are called parallel vectors, because collinear means either two vector lies in same line or they are parallel to each other. So we'll say, I'll already tell you the definition of parallel vector. It is two vector if are collinear and having in same direction, or we can say and in same direction, is called parallel vector. So let's suppose we have two vector, they are parallel to each other, A vector and B vector. Write down, if two vectors, A vector and B vector, are parallel, then we can write B vector is equals to M A vector. Then we can write B vector is equals to M A vector, where M is a number, where M is a number, where M is a number. So my dear student, this statement says that if two vectors are parallel, let's suppose one vector is A vector and other vector is B vector. So we'll say if two vectors are parallel, then we'll write B vector is equals to M A vector, where M is any number. Now see, if M is positive, remember this thing, my dear student, if M is positive, then vectors are parallel to each other, and if M is negative, then vectors are anti-parallel, to each other. And we know that anti-parallel means two vectors. This is basically parallel vectors, and if I am talking about anti-parallel vector, then it implies, my dear student, if two vectors like this, let's suppose one vector is A vector and other vector is B vector. So A vector and B vector are parallel to each other, but their directions are opposite. So we'll say this is anti-parallel parallel vector. So remember, my dear student, if two vectors are parallel to each other, then remember you will write B vector is equals to MA vector, where M is any number. It will be 1, 2, 3, 4 up to infinity. And if M is positive, my dear student, it implies that A vector and B vector are parallel to each other. And if M is negative, it implies A vector and B vector are anti-parallel to each other. So write down, beta. I hope you all are getting these points. You have to remember these points. Now moving forward, if two vectors A vector and B vector are parallel, write down. Second point which we have to discuss now is if two vectors are parallel to each other. If two vectors are parallel to each other, let's suppose we have two vectors, A vector and B vector. We have discussing now second point for remember points. On the basis of remember points, let's suppose if we have two vectors, A vector and B vector, and are parallel to each other. So my dear student, we have two vectors. Let's suppose one is A vector and other is your B vector. You are seeing here both the vectors are parallel to each other and their direction are similar. So two vectors, A vector and B vector, are parallel to each other. Then the unit vectors of both the vector, then unit vectors of both the vectors are equal. And we know that, my dear student, here unit vector means that vector whose magnitude is 1, and these vectors are used for giving direction. So let's suppose the unit vector of A vector is A cap and unit vector of B vector is B cap. Now see, both the vectors are parallel to each other. Their direction is same and they are parallel to each other. So if two vectors are parallel to each other, then their unit vector is also equal. It implies A cap is equals to B cap. This is what actually we have to discuss is. So remember this thing, my dear student, that if two vectors are parallel to each other, it means their direction are same and they are parallel to each other. So if they are parallel to each other, then their unit vectors are also equal. That is, if we'll consider the unit vector of A vector is A cap and unit vector of B vector is B cap, then we'll say A cap is equals to B cap. Now moving forward, third point. If two vectors A vector and B vector are anti-parallel to each other, write down third point which you have to remember. We are discussing now third point. Third point is if two vectors A vector and B vector are anti-parallel to each other. If two vectors A vector and B vector are anti-parallel to each other, then their unit vectors are equal but negative, or we can say opposite by convention to each other. Opposite by convention to each other. It implies, let's suppose, dear student, we have two anti-parallel vector. So we know that anti-parallel vector means two vector must be parallel to each other but their directions are opposite. So here we have A vector and B vector. These two vectors are anti-parallel to each other because their direction are opposite but they are parallel to each other. So let's suppose unit vector of A vector is A cap and unit vector of B vector is B cap. So what we'll write, if A vector and B vector are anti-parallel to each other, then their conventions are opposite but they are equal. So we'll write A cap is equals to minus of B cap. So remember this thing, my dear student. If we have two vectors which are parallel to each other, then their unit vector is equal. If two vectors are anti-parallel to each other, then their unit vectors are equal but opposite by convention. So if we'll consider unit vector of A vector is A cap and unit vector of B vector is B cap, then we'll write A vector cap is equals to negative of B cap. I hope you all understand this thing. These things are remembered. These points are, you have to learn these points and fit it in your mind. Once we'll complete vector, then we'll use in whole physics. These concepts are used in whole physics. So remember this thing. If two vectors are parallel, then their unit vector is equal. If two vectors are anti-parallel, then their unit vectors are equal by magnitude but opposite by nature. One is positive, other is considered to be negative. Now moving forward, write down fourth point which you have to remember. Write down, if three vectors A vector, B vector and C vector. Write down, if three vectors A vector, B vector and C vector. If three vectors A vector, B vector and C vector are coplanar, then we can write A vector is equals to M B vector plus N C vector. See my dear student, coplanar means the vector lies in same plane. Like let's suppose we have Cartesian system. This is our x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. This is considered to be xy plane, this is yz plane and this is zx plane. So let's suppose we have three vectors A vector, B vector and C vector, and they are saying that they are coplanar, means all the vector lies in same plane. Coplanar means I'll already explain you that more than one vector if lies in same plane, then all the vectors are considered to be coplanar vector. So here what we'll say if three vectors are there, A vector, B vector and C vector, and they are coplanar vectors, then we'll write A vector is equals to MB vector plus N C vector, where M and N are some number. See my dear student, let's suppose we have A vector, B vector and C vector. You are seeing here that A vector, B vector and C vector lies in xy plane. So we'll say A vector, B vector and C vector are coplanar vector. In that situation, we'll write A vector is equals to M B vector plus N C vector. These are the properties of these types of vector, my dear student. We only learn their properties. How it forms, it is not our subject. If math students are present, then they are studying these things in your maths. In physics, I am only dealing what we required. So our requirement is just you have to understand these things, that it, and remember these things. So three vectors are there, A vector, B vector and C vector, and we are saying that A vector, B vector and C vector are coplanar vector. It implies coplanar means all the vectors lies in same plane. So here we have three vectors and all the three vectors lies in xy plane. So we'll say A vector, B vector and C vector are coplanar vector, and for coplanar vector, my dear student, we have to write A vector is equals to M B vector plus N C vector, where M and N are any number. Now write down notes. Minimum number of unequal vector. Minimum number of unequal vector whose minimum number of unequal vector whose sum can be 0, whose sum can be 0 is 3 and vectors are coplanar, minimum number of unequal vector whose sum can be 0 is 3 and vectors are coplanar. Remember this thing, my dear student. If you want the number of vectors whose sum is equals to 0, so you must require at least 3 vectors for their sum to be 0, first thing, and second thing, all the 3 vectors must be lies in same plane. That is, all the 3 vectors must be coplanar to each other. So what this line says? This line says, if we have 3 vectors and these vectors lies in same plane, that is, all the vectors are coplanar vectors, then it is possible that their sum comes to be equal to 0. This is what I'll write. Minimum number of unequal vector whose sum can be 0 is 3 and vectors must be coplanar, Write down next point, that is 5th point. What you have to remember is, write down, if 4 vectors, 5th point is, if 4 vectors, A vector, B vector, C vector and D vector, if 4 vectors, A vector, B vector and C vector, A vector, B vector, C vector and D vector are in arbitrary direction, or in different direction, arbitrary means in any direction. So we are writing here, if 4 vectors, A vector, B vector, C vector and D vector are in different directions, then we can write it as A vector is equals to MB vector plus NC vector, MN and O D vector. We'll write A vector is equals to M B vector plus N C vector plus P, let it to be P because O pronounced as 0 vector as well, so I'll take P. So if 4 vectors are there and they lies in different direction, different means in arbitrary direction, in any direction, either it will be in same direction or it will be in different direction. So different or in arbitrary direction, then we can write it as A vector is equals to MB vector plus NC vector plus P D vector, where M, N and P are, any number. So remember, my dear student, if we have 4 vectors, A vector, B vector, C vector and D vector, then we can write it as A vector is equals to M, B vector plus N, C vector plus P, D vector, where M, N and P are any number. Remember these things, M and N, P are any numbers. Write down next point, the minimum number of non-coplanar vector, I'll write in form of note, minimum number of non-coplanar vector, whose sum is 0 is 4. So at least you need 4 vectors if they are in different direction, or in arbitrary direction. If you want to if you want to say that how many vectors are required if they are non-coplanar for to be sum equals to 0. So the minimum number is 4. For coplanar vector the minimum number is 3, and for non-coplanar vector the minimum number is, my dear student, 4. You have to remember these points so that we'll execute things like the same. Now moving next, properties of, write down, properties of zero vector, properties of zero vector, properties of zero vector, properties of zero vector. I'll already discuss that, beta. Zero vector is also called null vector. I'll write here, zero vector is also called null vector and is presented by zero vector. So remember this thing, beta. Zero vector means the vector whose direction is arbitrary but their magnitude is 0. I'll already tell you, those vector whose magnitude is 0 is called zero vector, and their direction is also not defined. They are in anywhere. So we'll say zero vector. About zero vector we'll discuss already that zero vectors are those vector, these are those vectors whose magnitude is 0 and its direction is in any arbitrary direction, any arbitrary direction. So remember, my dear student, zero vector is basically those vector whose magnitude is 0 and their direction is anywhere, any arbitrary direction forms by zero vector. Now write down its property. Write down first property. When a zero vector is added with any vector, when a zero vector is added, I am writing here first property, when a zero vector is added with any vector, when a zero vector is added with any vector, then the result is same as the vector. That is, let's suppose we have a vector, let's say a vector, and this a vector is added with zero vector, will get same vector in form of result, that is a vector. So I'll write a vector plus zero vector is equals to a vector. So remember this thing, beta. As we know that the direction of zero vector is in anywhere and its magnitude is 1. So if its magnitude is 0. So if we'll add any vector with zero vector, then we'll get same vector in form of result. Now moving forward, write down second property of zero vector. When a real number, write down, when a real number is multiplied, second property is of zero vector, when a real number is multiplied, when a real number is multiplied with zero vector, when a real number is multiplied with a zero vector, we get zero result. We get zero result, zero vector in form of result, not zero, zero vector in form of result. So let the real number is equals to, let's say, is lambda. I'm taking a real number in form of lambda. So what this point says, my dear student, this point says that if you will multiply 0 vector with any real number, then you will get result in form of 0 vector. That is, real number is considered to be lambda. So lambda into 0 vector, you will get 0 vector. This is the second property of 0 vector. Now moving forward, when a 0 vector is multiplied with any vector, write down third point. Third point is, when a 0 vector is multiplied, third property is, when a 0 vector is multiplied with any vector, 0 vector forms. 0 vector forms in form of result. That is, if you will multiply any vector with 0 vector. Let's suppose we have a vector called a vector, and I am multiplying a vector with 0 vector, will get 0 vector. So remember this thing, if we will multiply any vector with 0 vector, we will get, my dear student, 0 vector. So write down next point, next property, that is fourth property of 0 vector. You have to learn these properties, my dear student, because this is not a derivation. This is only for understanding, and you have to learn this thing, then only you will apply. So now our fourth point is, or we can say fourth property is, let's suppose if lambda and mu, I am writing here, if lambda and mu are two different non-zero real number, are two different non-zero real number. Let's suppose we have two non-zero real numbers, my dear student. One is lambda and another is mu. They are non-zero real number. Then we'll write it as lambda a vector is equals to mu b vector. Write down, if lambda and mu are two different non-zero real number, then we'll write lambda a vector is equals to mu b vector. We can write down, we can hold only if both a vector and b vector, we can hold only if both a vector and b vector are 0 vector. So lambda a vector is equals to mu v vector, where lambda and mu is basically two different non-zero real number. Then my dear student, a vector and b vector are are 0 vector. So we know that if any real number is multiplied with 0 vector, here a vector is example of 0 vector and b vector is also example of 0 vector, and lambda and mu are two different non-zero real number. Any real number, let's suppose it is 3 into this a vector is 0 vector, so 0 vector is equals to mu, let's suppose 4 into 0 vector. This becomes equals to 0, because we know that if we'll multiply any real number with 0 vector, in result we'll get 0 vector. So in both sides the answer is 0 vector, so they are equal. So remember this thing, my dear student, if we have two non-zero different real numbers, we are taking real numbers here as lambda and mu, then remember this thing, lambda a vector is equals to mu b vector, where a vector and b vector are 0 vector. Then only we will write, if a vector and b vector are not 0 vector, then we cannot not write lambda a vector is equals to mu vector. In that case it is not equal. But if a vector and b vector are 0 vector, then then only we'll say lambda A vector is equals to mu B vector. I hope you all understand these small points. Now we'll move forward and talking about resultant rectangular component of vectors. Write down next topic, rectangular components of vector. Rectangular components of vector. Rectangular components of vector. So we know that, my dear student, you have to understand this topic, as this topic is very important to understand more about physics, about their derivations. So my dear student, rectangular component of vector. Very first thing, we have two different rectangular components for any vector. I'll write here, for any vector, we have to make two rectangular components. It implies for any vector we'll make two rectangular components. When rectangular component forms, before this I'll write first component is in terms of cos theta and second component is in terms of sin theta. See, one component is cos theta and second component is sin theta. Now next point, both these components are formed in such a manner that they both must be perpendicular to each other. I'll write third point, both the components must be perpendicular to each other. My dear student, remember this thing, that for any vector will form two rectangular components. One is cos theta and second is sin theta. One is cos theta and second is sin theta. And remember this thing, my dear student, that both the components are perpendicular to each other. Both the components are perpendicular to each other. One component is cos theta and other component is sin theta. Now see, when we'll form a rectangular component for any vector. So my dear student, let's suppose I am taking example of acceleration. We know that acceleration is vector quantity. Its SI unit is meter per second square. Now see, this is our Cartesian system. Let's suppose this is y-axis and this is our x-axis. This is our x-axis and this is y-axis. Let's suppose a particle is moving like this. This is our particle direction of motion. Let's suppose this particle is moving like this with an acceleration of 2 meter per second square. Now see, my dear student, we know that acceleration is a vector quantity and this acceleration lies between x-axis and y-axis. If this acceleration lies along x-axis, then there is no any problem. We'll take 2 I cap, because we know that along x-axis the unit vector is I cap and along y-axis the unit vector is j cap. If this acceleration lies along x-axis, then simply we'll write, okay, the magnitude of acceleration is 2 and its direction is along x-axis. It is simple to write, it is 2 I cap. Similarly, if this acceleration lies along y-axis, then again we'll write it as 2 j cap, because the magnitude of acceleration is 2 and its direction is along j cap. So we'll write it as 2 j cap. But in this scenario, or we can say in this situation, this acceleration cannot lies along x-axis or this acceleration cannot lies along y-axis. The acceleration lies between x-axis and y-axis. Let's suppose this acceleration is making some angle theta with x-axis. The acceleration is making angle theta with x-axis. I hope you all are getting my point. The acceleration is making angle theta with x-axis. So my dear student, in this situation, if any vector quantity cannot lies along x-axis or along y-axis, then we form its rectangular component. If the vector quantity lies in x, y, negative y, z or negative z, then we cannot form its rectangular component. But if any vector quantity makes some angle and it cannot lies on xy plane, either lies cannot lies in x-axis or y-axis, it lies on plane. Either it will be xy plane, either it will be yz plane, or either it will be zx plane. Then we have to make its component. For any vector, we have to make two components. One is cos theta and other is sin theta. And already I'll tell you that both the components must be perpendicular to each other. So in this scenario, we'll make the component. So along x-axis, the component is cos because angle form with x-axis. Next point is, you have to check from where the angle of vector quantity forms. Either it will be on x-axis or with y-axis. If the angle forms is with x-axis, then cos component is along x-axis. If the angle forms with y-axis, then we'll write cos along y-axis, and perpendicular to cos we'll write sin. So my dear student, in this situation, the acceleration is making angle theta with x-axis. So along x we'll write 2 cos theta. 2 is magnitude of vector and here vector is acceleration. Similarly, if 2 cos theta is here, then perpendicular to cos we'll write sin component. So perpendicular to cos must be along y-axis and it is 2 sin theta. Now we'll write acceleration is equals to 2 cos theta I cap plus 2 sin theta j cap. Sin component is along y-axis and along y-axis we know that unit vector is j cap. Similarly, cos is lying along x-axis and we know that along x-axis unit vector is I cap. So I'll write a vector is equals to 2 cos theta I cap plus 2 sin theta j cap. I hope you all understand. Now I'll make one more example. Try to make its component by your own. Let's suppose now I am taking vector as velocity. So this is our x-axis, this is our y-axis, this is our z-axis, this is x dash, this is y dash. I'm sorry, it is not z. Here in this direction it is plus I cap and in this direction it is minus I cap, in this side plus j cap and in this side minus j cap. Let's suppose now the particle is moving like this with velocity, let's suppose 4 meter per second and making some angle theta with y-axis. Now we know that, my dear student, that velocity is a vector quantity. Velocity is a vector quantity and here velocity cannot lies along x-axis, even not along y-axis. This velocity lies between x-axis and y-axis and making some angle theta with y-axis. So under this scenario, or we can say under this situation, we'll break the component of velocity because velocity is a vector quantity. Second thing, we all know that now any vector quantity forms two rectangular component. One is cos theta and other is sin theta. The cos component must lies along that line from where vector quantity is making angle. So in this situation, dear student, velocity is making angle theta with y-axis. So I'll make component of cos along y-axis because we'll write here magnitude of velocity is 4. So 4 cos theta j cap, and second component will be like this because both the component must be perpendicular to each other. So I'll write here 4 sin theta minus I cap. So V vector is equals to, remember my dear student, even sin is along y-axis and cos is along y-axis. You have to write first the component of I cap. So I'll write minus 4 sin theta j cap. Why my I cap? Because the component of sin is along negative side, plus 4 cos theta j cap. So this is the component of velocity if velocity cannot lies in x-axis or in y-axis, that is velocity is making some angle, let's suppose theta, with y-axis. So I hope you all now understanding how to make the component of any vector quantity. Let us take one more example so that it will be clear more for you. Let's suppose any vector quantity is like this. Let's suppose I am taking example of acceleration now. Let's suppose we have a particle which is accelerating a vector, let's suppose 4 meter per second square, and the angle is theta, which is along negative x-axis. Now we know that any vector quantity, if cannot lies along x-axis or along y-axis, this is x dash and this is y dash, this is y and this is x. Along this plus I cap, along this plus j cap, along this minus j cap, along this minus I cap. I hope now you all are getting my point. So this is a vector quantity and making angle theta with x-axis. So we'll split the component. We know that component is of two, one is cos theta and other is sin theta, my dear student. So cos component must lies along that line from where vector makes angle, and perpendicular to that we'll put sin component. So in this situation, acceleration is making angle theta with x-axis. So cos component is along x-axis. So we'll write 4 cos theta minus I cap, and perpendicular to this 4 sin theta minus j cap. So we'll write A vector is equals to minus 4 cos I cap minus 4 sin j cap. Why minus beta? Because both the components is lying along negative axis, x-axis as well as y-axis. I hope it will be clear for you. Now moving forward, my dear student, let's suppose one more situation is there. After this we'll move forward. Let's suppose we have a particle which is moving with velocity, let's say 2 meter per second, and angle is theta with x-axis. So we know that any vector quantity is making some angle, then we have to split its component. For any vector, two component forms, one is cos theta and other is sin theta. The cos component must with x-axis because angle forms with x-axis. So along this side we'll write 2 cos theta I cap, and along this we'll write 2 sin theta minus j cap, because this is y dash, this is y, this is x dash and this is x. So in this situation we'll write v vector is equals to 2 cos theta I cap minus 2 sin theta j cap. I hope you all understand how to make the rectangular components of any vector quantity. Now moving forward, so next topic is, my dear student, addition of two vectors. Addition of two vectors. Write down heading addition of two vectors. Addition of two vectors. I'll write here addition of two vectors. So dear student, we'll learn in this topic how to add two vectors. If we have two vectors, then how to add them? So we'll opt two different methods for addition of two vector. There are two different methods. There are two different methods for addition of two vectors. For addition of two vectors. One is, my dear student, triangle law of vector addition. First method is triangle law of vector addition, and second method is parallelogram law of vector addition. So dear student, we have two different methods of vector addition. First is your triangle law of vector addition and second is your parallelogram law of vector addition. We'll discuss both the law in two different manners. One is graphical method for addition of two vector, in which we will deal triangle law of vector addition as well as parallelogram law of vector addition. And similarly, we'll opt one more method, that is analytical method for vector addition. Again we'll discuss on that topic also we'll discuss triangle law of vector addition and parallelogram law of vector addition. So first we'll discuss graphical method of vector addition. Vector addition is of two types. First is triangle law of vector addition and second is parallelogram law of vector addition. These additions can be understood by two different methods. One is graphical method and second is your analytical method. So first we will discuss graphical method, then in next lecture we will discuss analytical method of vector addition, that is triangle law and parallelogram law. So graphical method of vector addition is our topic, in which we are discussing triangle law of vector addition. Triangle law of vector addition. So my dear students, suppose we have two vectors, A vector and B vector, which is present in any arbitrary direction. I'll write here, suppose we have two vectors, A vector and B vector, are in any arbitrary direction. Suppose we have two vectors, A vector and B vector, are in any arbitrary direction. Let's suppose one vector is A vector and other vector is B vector. These two vectors lies in any arbitrary direction, my dear student. So what we have to do? We have to do as we are performing triangle law of vector addition. So see dear student, this is the tail of first vector and this is the head of first vector. Similarly, this is the head of second vector and this is the tail of first vector. So how to add two vector by triangle law of vector addition? So my dear student, you have to take three different steps. First step is step 1, join first vector head with second vector tail. These types of joining is considered to be formation of regular vector. See, if you will join one vector head with second vector tail, then both the vector is considered to be regular vector. Similarly, if you will join one vector head with second vector head or one vector tail with second vector tail, then that combination is called irregular vector. So remember dear student, if you will join one vector head with second vector tail, then they are said to be regular vector. So let's suppose we have two vector, A vector and B vector. So join first vector head with second vector tail. So first vector is A vector and second vector is B vector. We have to join first vector head with second vector tail. So join this. This is your A vector and this is your B vector. Now step 2, make a line which join first vector tail with second vector head, having magnitude and direction, are called resultant vector. are called resultant vector. Now what we have to do beta, you have to join first vector tail with second vector head having magnitude as well as direction. So I'll join this. This is our resultant vector, and I already explained you, my dear student, that resultant vector is basically that vector which creates combination, which creates a effect equals to effect created by all the vectors. So we'll write R vector is equals to A vector plus B vector. This is basically vector addition by triangle law. So step 1 is, if you have two vector, this is valid only for two vector, my dear student. Remember this thing, addition of two vector. So I'll opt first method to be triangle law of vector addition, in which what we have to do, we have to join first vector head with second vector tail. So these two vectors, that is A vector and B vector, is now considered to be regular vector, because one vector head and one vector tail if joined, then both the vector is considered to be a regular vector. But if we are taking A vector and R vector, see, A vector and R vector are joined by tail, so this vector and this vector is considered to be irregular vector, or R vector and B vector is considered to be irregular vector, because both vector lies in common point where their heads are collided. So A vector and B vector is considered to be regular vector. So step 1 is join first vector head with second vector tail, and then form a line from first vector tail to second vector head having magnitude as well as direction. That vector is called resultant vector. Resultant vector. And this is how we'll proceed triangle law of vector addition of two vector. So I hope you all understand triangle law of vector addition. It is very easy. Join first vector head with second vector tail, form a line from first vector tail to second vector head having magnitude as well as direction. That vector is considered to be resultant vector, which is equal to sum of two vector, that is A vector and B vector. So this is all about triangle law of vector addition with graphical method. Now moving forward, our second vector addition is parallelogram law of vector addition with in graphical method. So write down second method of vector addition is parallelogram law of vector addition. I hope you all understanding all the lecture, all the topics in this lecture, and try to make your proper notes. So second is parallelogram law of vector addition. Parallelogram law of vector addition. So what actually parallelogram law of vector addition is? See, in triangle law we'll join two vector. Similarly, in parallelogram law as well, we will add two vector only. Let us suppose we have two vectors, A vector and B vector, lies in any arbitrary direction. So I'll write here, suppose we have two vectors, A vector and B vector, lies in any arbitrary direction. Let's suppose we have A vector and B vector. Now see, in triangle law you will join first vector head with second vector tail. But if you are doing parallelogram law of vector addition, then you cannot join first vector head with second vector tail. You have to join first vector tail with second vector tail. So step 1 is join first vector tail with second vector tail. So we have two vectors, my dear student. Here it is A vector and B vector. You have to join first vector tail with second vector tail. So this is our first vector and this is our second vector, A vector and B vector. Now step 2, complete the structure of parallelogram. After this you have to complete the structure of parallelogram. So I'll write here, complete the structure of parallelogram. So how to complete the structure of parallelogram? This is our A vector, this is our B vector, and I'll complete the structure of parallelogram. Now see my dear student, make a diagonal, step 3, make a diagonal from the point where tails of A vector and B vector are joined and give it direction that diagonal is called resultant vector. So now what we have to do, my dear student, this is our A vector, this is our B vector, and we'll complete the structure of parallelogram. Now see what they are saying. I'll write, make a diagonal from the point where tail of A vector and B vector are joined. So this is the point where A vector and B vector tail are joined. Form a line from this point, give the direction to this line. So this line is basically acts as a diagonal and it is basically resultant vector, that is A vector plus B vector. So this is how we'll add two vectors through parallelogram law under graphical method. You have to join first vector tail with second vector tail, complete the structure of parallelogram, form a diagonal from that point where two vector tails are combining, give the direction to the diagonal. That diagonal represents resultant vector, and resultant vector means effect of all the vector created by a single vector, that is A vector plus B vector. I hope today's topic will be cleared by you. Dear student, take care. For now, for this lecture, it is all about till parallelogram law. In next lecture, we'll start analytical method of vector addition and multiplication of two vector with two different methods. One is dot product and second is cross product, and studied some more law related to vector. So thank you so much, dear student. Stay connected with us. Take care. Stay in home.